podcast, and I am joined here today with my co-host Leslie Reed to kick off this new effort to help bring um, information to all of the haunted attraction owners out there on ways that they can better build, better do what they do as they are creating their haunts. And today, we are going to be very focused on social media marketing. It's a great place to kind of start that conversation and find ways to encourage people to come and see your haunt. We are, of course, joined by our primary sponsor, the Chamber of Haunters. We have Robert Knowlton here from the president of the Chamber of Haunters. Not for long, though. You are on your way out, aren't you, Robert?
Yes, I've been doing it for 5 years now, and it's I finally decided it's time to pass the gavel along. So Kimberly Grant will be taking over here at the end of July at the Texas Honors Convention. So yes, I have about a little over a month left of my tenure, and then Kimberly will take over.
It has been an absolute pleasure working with you over the last several
Thank you.
years, and I expect we'll have just as much fun working with Kimberly as well when once she takes the reins.
Yes.
Very excited for that. So for today, to really dig into social media marketing, we are joined with a couple of folks from Corpseology. We have Reed Lavalle. I hope I said it right. I've been butchering it all morning, so hopefully fingers are crossed. And Tom Bergeron here from Corpseology. Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time out to talk with us today.
Thanks, Tiona. We really appreciate being on the podcast today and look forward to the good conversation.
Before we kind of dig into the finer points of social media and marketing, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourselves? How'd you get started in the haunted attraction industry? And tell us a little bit about Corpseology.
Well, basically how I got into the haunt industry is since I was 4, I've been like building props and doing like displays. And partly how I was inspired to do that is because my next door neighbor has been doing it for 30 years.
Yes. Home haunters inspiring the next generation. I love it.
And then I went to a lot of local haunts, including like Haunted Overload, one of the biggest in New England. And I started volunteering there. And I actually, what I did there is I actually sold corpsed things like this.
I love it. The crooked jaw is what really makes that.
And then I built up a personal following and my business page, and I got pretty good at doing social media marketing. And then I did some research on what worked good with, worked well for like the haunts. And then I decided to email a bunch of haunts. And that's basically how I got into it.
Nice.
Great.
And then,
Go ahead,
then
Tom.
myself, no, I've always loved the Halloween season. I'm a late October birthday. It's kind of a draw right in. My son's an October birthday, so the two of us kind of loved it. And
I am too. I'm with you.
oh, awesome. What I didn't really know though was kind of the whole haunted attraction industry throughout the U.S. I knew it was out there, but didn't realize how big it was. And Reed kind of pulled me in, was telling me about it, and I saw what he was doing. I was like, hey, you can probably make a living out of getting the social media up and running. And so I started working together with him, and I think it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Before we got on the call, you were telling me a little bit of backstory. It sounds like Corpseology started in 2024. Tell us a little bit more about how you got started and kind of what Corpseology does, what you offer.
Yeah, so it was really reaching out in 2024 to a few haunts. I think one of our goals is slow growth, really build strong relationships with the haunts as opposed to can we get all of them?
Yeah.
So that was kind of a key component for us. And what we do, we work a lot with smaller and mid-sized haunts. And we have a set criteria. It's 61 posts that happened from mid-August until into November with some thank yous at the end for staff and volunteers and actors as well as the customers.
Yeah.
And it's heavy in September, trying to drive people there in early October. And so September, October, the heavy months, and a touch a little bit in August and November. So the cool thing is we made it affordable by minimizing by standardizing kind of what the campaign looks like, but then customizing it for the individual haunts. So we work with the haunts photos, we work with their videos, so it's all their stuff, but then we kind of streamline it, and 61 posts each haunt does, but we probably have 100 different posts to choose from, and then
Sure.
kind of choose the ones that best. Some people do merch, some don't. Some want warnings for scammers or when you get here type posts, some don't. So yeah, so it's standardized but customized. So it's really kind of make it affordable.
Sure. You mentioned, my favorite word, affordability. What kind of price ranges are we talking about for haunts that want to work with Corpseology?
So really, so the show special we were at East Coast Haunters Convention, so we were running that at 550. So the
Uh-huh.
standard is 600, which is pretty affordable for getting. It's like $10 a post.
Yeah, that is
Look at the
pretty
time and
affordable.
effort that goes into creating posts. We feel it's a super affordable. Um, and we also introduced a new thing at the show as well. We talked to some of the haunts that were exhibiting at East Coast Haunters and made an offer to just do a 10 post package for them because they usually have their own teams and everything.
Hmm.
So we're taking our highest performing post from different locations and kind of making a custom for them just to kind of an extra boost. So there's a couple, so we want to be there for the smaller haunts, but I think we figured out a solution for the larger haunts to work with us as well.
Yeah, sounds like it. Uh, where else can people find you? It sounds like you're making the convention circuit. Are there other conventions you'll be at this season? And if not, where can they find you online and in the socials?
So yeah, I don't think we will be at any other conventions this year, but they can find me at corpseology.com, and it also and also Corpseology on Facebook.
Perfect. And that is Corpseology, Corpseology. I had to try a couple different iterations before I could find it. So E and O.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always left the E out when I started. It's a full
Same. I did
corpse
the
and then
exact
all the
same.
You guys need to work on your spelling. This is an easy one.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me
yeah.
Well, perfect.
I think last year we went to Transworld just to get a feeling for what was out there.
Yeah.
So as attendees, not exhibiting.
Uh-huh.
This year we started with East Coast Haunts to kind of get into the exhibit scene. Next year, we're considering adding the Midwest Haunters to it. We haven't made that decision
Okay.
yet. And then, I think in a couple years, maybe we'll be at Transworld, but it's kind of into that.
I know it. I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Midwest is happening this weekend, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
Rob's nodding. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, they started yesterday. I
Uh-huh.
believe they were at abandoned haunted attraction in out that area. I don't remember. I think it's if it's Illinois or where it's at, but that's a really good attraction out there. And then they have another haunt tour tonight, and then tomorrow and Sunday are the actual convention days. So
Yeah.
I was actually meant to go. I had a health incident, so I had to stay home. So I wasn't able to go, but yes, that is this weekend. So this will be their last because they have East Coast, Transworld East Coast, Midwest. So this is
Yep. Yep.
Transworld's last convention or trade show
Exactly.
that's happening until next year.
Well, everyone busy at Hotfest or everyone busy at Midwest right now is going to miss our lunch and learn today, so they'll just have to catch it on the
Yes.
back end, which they, of course, they could do both on Facebook, on YouTube, and through the Haunting You podcast as well. They'll be able to find all of this content. So let's kind of kick it off and kind of dig into your view of social media marketing and how to make that most effective for haunts. So from a starting place, like what do you find is bang for the buck? What platforms are you using that you're finding the most useful for haunts?
I would say I think Instagram is really good, but also using Facebook as well, I think is also good as well.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, I think, because I think the younger generation is on Instagram and TikTok. I think the older generation will often bring the younger generation on Facebook. So kind of matching those together is kind of important. The interesting thing we really find is we don't do a lot ourselves with TikTok because a lot of the expectation is real time. So quite often the haunt will have someone younger who do some real time, but we can supplement some of the video we've done for Instagram, so we can fill that platform without owning that platform, if that makes sense.
Sure, it
But
does.
from the Instagram, Facebook side, we'll fill up, pretty much the campaign. People might post that, weather tonight or something like that, but for the most part, they can turn that portion of the campaign over to us and we'll just run it.
Kind of on the flip side, are there any social media platforms that you find are not particularly effective within this industry? For us, we have found Twitter X has not been a good way for us to reach people because it's all words, and honestly, people are not interested in my words; they're interested in what I'm building. What do you see?
So yeah, I do think the platforms that you said, I don't think they're really that effective anymore.
And we haven't really had anyone ask us to be on those platforms. We don't have our presence there either, so maybe that answers itself.
Yeah, exactly. I find trying to reach Gen Z really need to be more on the TikToks, trying to reach like the early millennials and Gen Z on Instagram, late millennials and beyond into the Facebook.
And YouTube. YouTube is a good place, and it's nice that it's
YouTube.
so easy to cross post between all of these platforms nowadays. So you can, really kind of hit your targets on each platform relatively easily without having to create brand new content for each one. And
Exactly.
then for each group that follows each platform, you can kind of have some more specialized content. So, again, you're going to find more of our longer builds on YouTube, but more of our shorter, snapshots are going to be, YouTube Shorts or on Instagram. So it's nice that it's so easy to cross post nowadays.
Yeah, that's a good point, Leslie. And we cross-purpose some of that. So the longer videos on YouTube, we'll cut
Mhm.
snippets of that out and use that for the shorter post on other platforms. So it actually, again, it's trying to minimize the amount of work you do and kind of reuse the content that you're creating.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it
Efficiency.
also goes back to what Keone was saying, each platform, each platform, when you think about social media, it's all vastly different, even though they have similar aspects. Like, if you think about even LinkedIn, I've seen hundred traction owners on LinkedIn, but that's more business. You're doing it more
Hmm.
for the business end of things than the
That's it.
haunt
You're
end.
not going to reach your target audience, the customers
Right.
on LinkedIn, but you might make good
Yeah.
professional connections to help you build your business.
Right. And so I think that's where a lot of these other ones come into play, like Twitter and or X or whatever and stuff like that. I think, a lot of those, LinkedIn, X, stuff like that, while they're not really probably widely used by us, I think anybody that's on them uses them more for that. I don't want to say professional because it's not professional per se, but it's just more the business structure end of things than for the following because we're looking for, you know, eh, sponsors. We're looking for people to partner. We're looking for people to help us with collaborate, and that's a better place for us to do that. Speaking from a hunter end, that's a better place to get that versus Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We want that to get our followers because we know,
Yes.
like Kenny said,
Yes.
Gen Z, Gen X, all those are going to be on those platforms. So I think like especially with what you guys do, those are going to be the platforms that are going to be the best bet and get us what we need. Whereas I think personally, we're going to be doing our own work on X and LinkedIn and stuff like that because we're looking more for the business end, and that's where, unfortunately, as haunters, we're the only ones that can speak to that. It's
Right.
hard to
Yeah.
outsource that.
Exactly.
It's interesting, Robert, because at East Coast Haunters, we had a few vendors come up and ask us if we could help them with their social media marketing,
Yeah,
which actually has led us to discussions of LinkedIn presence and some of the other
right.
components. So we haven't gone there yet, but it's definitely a growth strategy
Right.
for us as well. So I think
Yeah,
those are platforms we'll start experimenting more with.
absolutely. Sure. It sounds like Corpseology is very focused on social media marketing. Do you do any work in other marketing areas, radio, billboards, etc., TV ads, or not? And if not, why not?
I no, we really don't do any of that stuff. We, we may like do ads or email marketing in the future,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, we don't do those things because at the stage I'm at, it's better for me to specialize
Sure.
and
Sure.
do everything.
The one thing we've been pulled in a little bit is helping with video creation.
Mm-hmm.
I think Keone, you mentioned earlier affordability being a big piece of that. So we have the ability with the package to help folks send us some, pictures of some other materials, and we'll create short videos and stuff out of it. And
Yeah.
we can usually do it for a couple $100, or sometimes we'll send them the script. Got a couple of your actors,
Hmm.
spend 10 seconds, or why don't you make it a minute? We'll pull 10 seconds out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we'll kind of because of the challenge for them editing video, and it kind of is naturally into us. So that's kind of been the growth offshoot. And as Reed said, we do a lot of email-based marketing ourselves
Mm-hmm.
for Corpseology. So
Sure.
expanding into that is the other area that we'll
Sounds like
probably
a natural next step for you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what advantages do you see to social media versus those more traditional types of marketing?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think in general, we have folks just saying radio just gets them nothing now. It used to be
Really?
sometime, but radio just, I think people aren't listening much, and the audience that does listen to radio, I don't think it's the audience that's going to hunts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been a challenging, for better or worse, that's been a challenging market for kind of folks to expand into.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, it really seems a solid social media presence, best bang for your buck. Being involved with local community, chamber of commerce and stuff like that can be helpful as well. But
Hmm.
social media gives a lot of bang for the buck.
Yeah. I have to
Well, I
imagine.
can. Oh,
Go
sorry. Go
ahead,
ahead.
Rob. No, please.
I'm just gonna say once again from the hunters end, I can speak to the radio thing. We tried that one year, and I think we did like $1,000 campaign. I mean, we did so many radio spots throughout the month of October, and I think they're like 30-second spots. And then we went heavily like on our like last 2 weekends, like we got heavier with our spots. And then we had like even an event where we had like the mascot of our local radio station came out, but it was only like for an hour before the show and like an hour during the show, and it really didn't help. Um it was nice. I mean, it was enjoyable, and we love that radio station. They're awesome. It just wasn't as effective. I mean, there's really no way. I mean, other than if we survey, there's no way to really tell that anybody came from the radio. I mean, nobody would ever say, "Oh yeah, we heard you on the radio, so
Yes.
we decided to come
Yes.
out." I mean, most of the time they're like, "Oh, we saw your flyer in this place," or we saw your ad on Facebook, or we saw your video on TikTok, so we were like, "Oh, we want to check it out." So I mean, I think you're 100% right on the nose there. I mean, radio just, I mean, other than listening to music, nobody's on there listening for ads. And if they do hear the ad, at least personally, I tune it out. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm just like, okay,
I'm
whatever.
switching the channel if the ads come on.
It's
I want my
Yeah,
music.
for the next song. Yeah. You're not listening for ads. So yeah, it doesn't work.
It is it is fun hearing your haunt on the radio though and having the personalities come out. So if you want to spend your
Yeah,
money
that
for
is
that,
cool.
then
I
it's
mean, it is
yeah.
cool, but not effective for $1,000.
Yeah,
but I think
Exactly.
I think you can kind of generate that by building a relationship through social media with the, hosts of the radio show, and then, hey, as you're talking, plug us for, what you're going to do this weekend. And so again, kind of the same way to get to or different ways to get the same place, while also not spending $1,000, and actually being able to know that your marketing money is, you know being effectively used. Because again, social media is very, very good with providing analytics on your reach and your target audience and everything else. And radio, you can get it. It's a lot more effort and work, and that just, again, it's time, it's money, it's all of that spent to try and generate something that, again, through social media you can generate really, really quickly.
Yeah. Rob, you brought up an interesting point. When with radio, there's no way to track that was how people are coming in. So Tom or Reed, can you talk a little bit about how you can do that with social media to see how effective your marketing campaign is being?
Sorry, what was your question again?
How do you get feedback um, from your social media campaign to see how effective it's being? How many people are actually seeing those ads, and then that's turning into customers showing up at your door?
Um, well, basically how I do that is like I go and look at like how the reaches and the views are on the posts and the engagements. And because I really don't do like ads right now for my clients, it's more of like organic stuff.
Uh-huh.
But usually at the end of the season, I ask my clients how things went, and yeah, last year, yeah, they had the best sales and people showing up to their hunt. So,
yeah. So
so I,
we do track the stats. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the hunts we've worked with have all shown growth, which has been great. So we can show your views, your engagement, and kind of growth, etc. We can also look at which posts are doing best. So we
Uh-huh.
can stat because different haunts have different type of posts. Some like characters, some like crude humor. So it kind of depends on the theme of your haunt. So we can see which type of post is working best. And although we don't boost ads for folks under our program, people will
Mm-hmm.
both boost their own, and we can, either they want to boost one, or we can suggest, hey, this one's already trending well. If you do a little boost, you can kind of you can bump that up. And
Yeah.
then I think the follow up on that as well is quite a few of the haunts have had us do coupons and discount codes, especially
Sure.
early in the season.
Uh-huh.
I think, it's kind of typical around Halloween, you're going to fill up. People that really want us to help drive the early season
Yeah.
attendance, and that's when we do coupon codes and stuff. So that's a direct, oh, this person got their 10% discount, or, win this contest and you get a free ticket. but they bring 5 people with them, so you can kind of
Yes,
see how that works.
exactly.
So that's a nice way you'll never get from radio that you can actually track, uh,
Hmm.
not just engagement and views, but who's actually showing up at the hunt.
Yeah, you mentioned in there a little bit that you're tracking, how effective individual posts are doing. Is there a particular type of content that you find gets more engagement than others?
Yeah, I would say one thing that's big in a lot of haunts is the characters. And I think a little bit of that is character haunt dependent.
Uh-huh.
Some haunts, the actors are kind of celebrities. Others is kind of a rotating, and we really
Yeah.
find haunts that can kind of build that celebrity. We can help build on top of that, and so we'll highlight some characters. Then we'll also do a vote for your favorite character, stuff like that. That can really drive engagement. So yeah, so there's some those we find quite do quite well. Um, and then, sometimes video, the haunt has a good video if it's been popular on YouTube or somewhere else. That's always just a easy plug into the other platforms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Do you find or let me rephrase the question a little bit. How often are you putting posts out there? Like it, I guess I wonder, is there a saturation point? Can you have too many posts so that people end up like tuning you out?
No, yeah, I definitely think having too many posts can be bad. It also depends on the size of the page.
When you say size, you mean like number of followers?
Yes. So yeah, so for most businesses outside, probably posting maybe no more than like once or twice a day
Mm,
because people are just gonna get annoyed.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think creativity in those posts as well. I
It
think
certainly matters.
if you're posting the same thing over and over, you get saturated.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
can do unique content, you can definitely start posting more. And one of the hunts we worked with last year, they kind of had their theme. We add to their campaign, and we
Hmm.
actually had pretty good success. I felt we were above the saturation level, but because they complemented, they kind of were unique
Yeah.
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
complemented each other. It actually drove engagement. So there's always learnings like that. It was something weren't sure was going to happen, and we experimented in the first couple of weeks. And we're like, oh, we're pulling this off.
Sure. Sure. On the flip side, is there a minimum number of posts that Hans should be striving toward in order to, keep themselves at the front of the people's feed?
Probably every 24 to 48 hours.
Really, that frequently?
Because if you look at least with my personal following, when I post for personal following,
Hmm.
um, usually the best results I get is every 24 to 48 hours.
Hey, Les, take notes. We need to up our social
Of
media
our
game for
social
the
media.
podcast.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think the
But
key
it
on that
makes
too
sense
is
because, people get on whether they're scrolling once or twice a day. You want to have that pop up every time they log in for new content. You want to make sure that your content is there, is new, is interesting. So it's always kind of getting in front of them, but as part of their natural, social media scrolling experience.
yeah. I think the nice thing with the haunt industry is it's seasonal. So if you're posting,
Sure.
you're
Sure.
posting, 24 to 48 hours in in
Through
March,
a couple
they're
of
probably gonna get
months.
annoyed. But when you get around the September, October timeframe, that's why we kind of ramp up. In August, we start getting the
Yeah.
post out there and awareness. We ramp up in September and then through October
So
as well. And you
do you
get good
guys
engagement because that's what people want to hear at that time.
yeah.
Right.
So do you guys completely, kind of stop your posting or just pull it back significantly during, kind of the November to July, August timeframe?
So November, we like to do thank you post. Thank
Sure.
you for volunteers. People like recognition and you want to keep volunteers coming back. Thanks for the
Hmm.
customers coming out. So instead of just like it just ends. And it's not a
Hmm.
lot of posts, but there's enough there to kind of keep some interest. We usually do a Christmas for Halloween type or spooky Christmas type thing
Hmm. Hmm.
going forward. And then Reed kind of as a compliment with the haunts is usually does once a month. We'll just do a post for them as well, just to keep some
Okay.
activity on the page.
I,
Some are like farms, so they have activity off year. Some
yeah.
are purely haunts, so there's not much activity. So we try and keep a little bit of activity going throughout the year.
And that's kind of the next question I wanted to ask. Do you think it's appropriate for a seasonal attraction that's only open September October timeframe to be putting out Happy New Year's, Happy Valentine's Day, whatever over the course of the year, just so that they're constantly showing, hey, we're still here. Come check us out in October.
No, yeah, I think that's definitely appropriate. And actually, if people don't post during the off season, you potentially may have less engagement the next year.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key is keep that as a scary theme. So
Yeah,
keep the haunt aspect of Valentine's Day and
sure.
4th of July and stuff like that. So skeletons go a long way in any one of those in a
Yes, they
seasonal
do.
post.
What about kind of teasers? So, hey, we've got our new theme set up in April. Are you finding that's kind of, something that social media is interested in and your audience is interested in? Is like, oh, what are they doing this year? What are they doing, as opposed to last year? Are you guys looking at teasers, or is that something that's kind of not there yet?
No, I think for Hans posting teasers is definitely a good idea. But it's not going to be the average consumer that's going to be watching it at April. It's going to be
Us
Me.
nerds.
yeah.
But they're the base of your customers, right? So
That's it. That's it.
Mhm.
Like us Halloween enthusiasts, we are the people that you want to be reaching
yeah,
In
they tell
March and
others.
April.
in March and April, because then we'll
And
grab
then
our non-spooky
Yeah.
friends and say, "Hey, come do this with me."
So we kind of like behind the scenes
Oh
aspects.
yeah.
Some haunts just don't want to do that.
Hmm.
They want to kind of keep it a mystery. So again, we talked about customized,
Mhm.
standardized but customized. So if the haunt wants to
Yeah.
do behind the scenes, we love that. They have some great video. We find they work well. But others like, no, people got to come and see it. Find out what's new this year.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're talking about posting every 24 to 48 hours, and like as the primary content creator for our podcast and for our haunt, I'm so busy with doing my builds. And how, like, are there any tools or suggestions you have for taking that and then effectively turning that into content, but quickly? Because I want to get back to my build. I don't want to be, spending all my time editing videos.
I think so. Probably one of the biggest things. So the haunt's going to do kind of one thing:
Mm.
planning out your social media campaign as far as what it's going to
Oh,
look like. Yeah,
uh-huh.
I think so many
Mhm.
haunts. You're in October, or you're in September, you're trying to build your haunt, you're trying to get followers, you're stressed, you sit down, like, what am I going to post? And that's where you get duplicate, content and stuff like that. So
Uh-huh.
I think, the service Corpseology does just the fact that we lay out the campaign this time of year.
Yeah.
So we start laying it now, by July, beginning of August. We want the campaign finalized. Not that it can't be tweaked, but here's our 61 posts. These are the days they're going to show up. This is the themes. We're rotating character highlights once a week as opposed
Mhm.
to back to back. So a well planned out campaign when you're not under the stress. And so you talk about doing your bills, you usually put some time aside to do the bills. Putting some time aside in the summer when you're potentially not as busy to plan a campaign just is huge.
Yeah. 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 How much are the posting that you're doing during the season is pre-scheduled compared to, um, for lack of a better word, off the cusp?
I think the most of them, like we can only really schedule up to a month in advance. So
Okay.
But that's what we do. We put them in uh, up to three weeks ahead of time,
Hmm.
and the haunt owner has a week to kind of approve. There's
Yeah.
like, hey, there's 4 or 5 posts for you to approve, so they can kind of batch it. And quite often, they just give a thumbs up. So we have them, scheduled, ready to go early on.
Uh-huh.
We don't the posts that are real time have to do about weather or incidences or
Mhm.
something that
Sure.
is, and we don't usually do those. The haunt
Right.
usually does them themselves. They know
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
happening. Going through us just delays it. So when they have something, so we don't restrict anyone from posting on the
You-
social media. They need to get their
You're
message.
just augmenting it.
Exactly. Yeah.
The haunts.
Yeah.
Are haunts actually turning over access to their social media to you, or are you feeding them the content and then they're posting?
they're giving me access, yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be significantly more streamlined.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's great when they're, you can send everything to them and have them post it, but, again, we're trying to do our builds, we're trying to prep our stories, and, social media is not exactly high on my list of things to do on a daily basis, let alone on a weekly basis, even if I know just how important it is.
Yeah.
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 And I think a lot of that's the trust component. You said we work closely with the haunts. We're sharing early in the season what we're going to be doing.
Hmm.
When we start showing them what the posts are going to look like, that's in the summertime. They have a chance to digest it and figure out. So by the time you get into the season, and we're a couple weeks ahead, they're making their approvals. There's a big, nice trust level that's built up from there, and it also lets
Mhm.
us look at all the stats and statistics as well. Because most
Yeah.
owners don't want to do that. Did I grow this
Fact.
year? Did this one do well? Like it's not top of
It's
No,
hard
not
to
and
top of the
read.
too,
list.
It's
you
the
mentioned that trust component. I mean, once again, that's so huge because once again, I own an attraction here in Central PA, and you know, at first, like, I was very trusting of I had a person that helped me out, and then like they were posting stuff like that just didn't fit the bill for what we needed to get people
Mhm.
you know, in and interested. I mean, it's just like it was just more randomness, and it wasn't until within the last year, I actually have a communications director that like I trust wholeheartedly, and she handles everything between what she does and anything that we outsource. So I mean, it is nice when you get that trust component, not just within your attraction, but like with organizations like yourself who when we need to outsource for certain things, we can be like, "Hey, like we need you to do this, and we can trust you to do it, knowing that you know what you're doing, and you're not just doing stuff off the cuff without any backing or understanding." Because that, like as a haunter, that's our worst case scenario. That's like our nightmare is that someone comes into our social media because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, other than our websites, our website and social media, that's the face of our attraction.
Yep.
Before they get here, that's what they see first. I mean, we're in that age. I mean, my family had an attraction back, late 80s, early 90s into the early 2000s. And, we didn't have social media back then. We didn't even have websites. It was just radio, which then was big, that then it was worth it. And TV, that was it. I mean,
Mhm.
that's our newspaper. Those were the ways we had to get out, and then word of mouth, was probably the biggest thing. But I mean, even then, the trust factor, was there because we had to trust that people were going to get our message out clearly on
Hmm.
these,
Hmm.
these channels, newspaper, radio, whatever. And so now that we're in an age of technology, it definitely that trust is definitely even greater. Like I said, speaking from a Han owner's perspective, I mean that trust is even greater because, like I said, I mean the last thing we want is to hand over those reins and something happens that looks bad us because once again that's our face until they
Yep.
get here.
Exactly.
That's the first thing they see.
Mhm.
So I mean, if our face looks bad, they're gonna be like, we are not going. And so I mean, like I said, the website, social media, stuff like that, that's the stuff that we need to know is gonna be top notch. We can handle the attraction. I mean, we've got that, but I agree with you that that trust is definitely something that has to be built. And like I said, it's good to have organizations that you can trust because, like I said, when we do have to outsource stuff, it is sometimes hard to decide who do you go with because will they you question, will they
Hmm.
do it effectively? Do they understand my message, my storyline, my goal, what I'm trying to do? So that way we can have the success we're looking for. So
Yeah, I think in conversations, Robert, I think we've seen is some haunts have had just bad experiences. Every haunt has its own theme. Like, is it ultra scary?
yes,
Is it kid friendly? Is it
Mhm.
yeah,
corny? Is it so they all have and
right,
I think the risks people don't want to give up on the marketing front is are they going to change my message, change my theme, and my customers expect
yeah,
something. So
it's hard.
uh, it- it's one of the reasons we work with people's existing photos and videos because they'll
Right.
usually find the themes and we can pull that from them as well. So we're very cognizant of making sure we're matching what your theme is, not what we feel
Right.
Yeah.
an audience kind of wants to go up there.
Yeah. So to that point, what kind of information do you need from a haunt when you first start working with them in order to help you build, I'm going to say, effective and tailored marketing material?
So we start with a questionnaire with them.
Hmm.
So once we go through the service agreement, et cetera, the very first thing is a questionnaire. So it's a conversation like this. It's just going
Yeah.
through, hey, what's important to you? Do you have strong partners that you want to recognize? I'm like, yeah, we're part of a nonprofit. We want to get them. Some people are like, no,
Yeah.
we can write us. So it's getting to know them through the questionnaire. Do they mentioned earlier, do they sell merchandise? Do they have characters? So yeah, we have a list of questions and finding out. Once we know more about them, we'll then put together a spreadsheet, which is the post schedule. So
Uh-huh.
this is the post we think match your haunt.
Mhm.
These are the dates. This is the theme. Um, and we'll ask them for photos and videos. So quite often they'll just give us access through Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that.
Sure.
And we'll do a first pass Like we can't do millions of photos. We ask for about 100 or so. But quite often, they can get us so they can tell us, hey, this year was really good or something. So there's a way for us.
Mhm.
And we just start pulling out the ones we like that we think match as well. And sometimes we have to go back and ask for more. Some haunts are
Sure.
real honest. We don't do a lot of video and photos. So
Yeah, that
Reed's
is
done some
definitely
AI
something I'm
images.
getting better at. But
Yeah. Yeah.
like
It's
every
definitely something
year,
that's like I'm in the middle of it, and then it's like, oh crap, I didn't take a starting picture, or I'm at the end, it's
yes,
like, ah, dang it, I was going to take pictures of how this worked, and
so
it's
often
always an afterthought.
like after we close, right before I begin teardown, I'm going through and snapping pictures because I'm like, I didn't get any of this.
Yeah. That's part of our reminder service too. When you go like, we have photos, but hey, do you have a new photo from this year? We stick the top of mind.
Yeah, exactly. On that note, what kind of pictures do you find to be most effective? Are there techniques or styles that I should be thinking about as I'm taking my pictures to make them effective for marketing? I'm thinking like for television ads, make sure you turn it sideways so that you have a landscape size photo. Are there other tips or tricks like that that you guys see, or mistakes that people make?
Yeah, I kind of see it's just the opposite. You're kind of more
Yeah,
vertical with a lot of the social media. I
because
think
of
having
social
open,
media, sure.
yeah, I think having open space is a key because what you want to often do is add text onto, so you can do the post
Mm,
text, but you can also put text within the photo and stuff like
yeah,
that. So having
yeah,
Hmm.
some
yeah.
open space and thinking about where that text will go.
Uh-huh.
Like you can have a great coach close up of something, but there's no place
Yeah. If I've got my
naturally.
entire face in there,
Yeah.
writing's going to be right on top of my eyes.
Yeah. But if you have a little, space on top that's black or whatever, you have the chance to start. So, or off to the side. So, those are some of the components. I think any, I'm not a professional photographer, but any typical photo tricks that photographers will use, center, third, there's different aspects, and I'm kind of spacing on 'em right now, but there's different aspects in photography that you'll use
Yeah,
to highlight good photos. Doesn't matter the medium, good photos, like captivating.
sure. What about you, Reed? Any thoughts?
Uh, yeah, I don't know much about like the photo taking necessarily.
Yeah, that's where I struggle as well. I feel you.
We'll have to do a podcast on photo taking, photos and
We
videos.
we need to bring in a photographer. Exactly.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you're taking those posts now and targeting it to an audience, because social media has such a wide, or at least it has the potential for such wide reach, that how are you getting that to the customers in a geographic area?
Well, basically what I do is I use hashtags of like some of like the local towns,
Okay.
and then also share it in like groups that are like near the of local towns as
Uh-huh.
well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about wanting to know the partners of an organization, whether it's
Mhm.
Chamber of Commerce or a nonprofit, or so anytime you can leverage off of people in the community, uh,
Yeah.
is kind of a key way to help kind of build your own audience. And like some of the haunts we work with, they have both they're fundraisers for nonprofits, but they'll have a nonprofit page and they'll have their haunt page.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
debatable whether they should be combined or not, but if you can share across both, if on the pure nonprofit page, wouldn't necessarily post as much as we do on the
Mm,
haunt page, but take some of the better ones and kind of keep it going on that platform as
sure.
well. So I
Absolutely.
think the more you know who's local, and the more you, whether it's through hashtags or sharing or highlighting is I think the key piece to get that traction growing locally.
Can you talk a little bit more about hashtags, how you use them, what makes them effective? How do I choose what hashtags to use when I'm putting a post up?
Well, I think having like a mixture of like hashtags that are targeted to certain people like hobbies or or um or like what people's favorite candy is or like things like that.
Okay.
It just depends on what the post is about, the
Uh-huh.
context of the post.
Are there
Yeah, so we
any?
do we'll do a post that's favorite Halloween candy, just to drive engagement. So
Yeah.
hashtag Reese's, hashtag
Okay.
M&M's,
Yeah. Yeah.
Snickers, or yeah. So some of it's post dependent, and some of it is geography or other ways.
Hmm. Are there any tags that you use across the entirety of a campaign? Like I like to use SCE Haunt for our Sanguine Creek Estates haunted house. That way I know I can go back pretty easily and see everything that we posted about in a given year. Are there anything like that that you use, or do you recommend doing something like that?
Yeah, I would say if you're gonna consistently use the same hashtags, but mix it up a little bit depending on the context of the post.
Uh-huh. Elaborate.
Like, if it's, you know, what's your favorite candy, or you know, what costume are you gonna be wearing this Halloween season or something of that nature, using like hashtags that are relevant to the post.
Okay, sure.
But I
Are
definitely
there
think a common hashtag with a hot name or a hot name 25 or whatever you want to do, a common hashtag across all the posts goes a long way.
Yeah. How many hashtags should I be trying to get into a post?
Uh, the size of the following can matter on that. Like some people think it'd be too much hashtag. That's not good.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you have like, okay, 1 million followers, having maybe, only a few hashtags to leverage that as much as possible makes sense. But if you're a smaller following, let's just say under 10,000 followers, using as many hashtags as possible that that are relevant to the post, but then some that are more generic, that are, yeah, generic to the target audience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a actually very relevant point that I would love to pick your brains on. How do you grow an audience in social media? What techniques do you have for helping to grow that audience?
Well, one of them is requesting um, your followers to invite your friends,
Mm,
because you can grow an audience very quickly doing that.
yeah.
Yeah, outreach is a big piece. You can do your own outreach. Um, kind of take people who you think other social media platforms that you feel would be helpful or pages that you feel would be helpful. You kind of do outreach to them.
Uh-huh.
I'd say just, consistency is a big thing. Uh, what a lot we'll see is people, hey, I'm going to put a big push on social media this year, and they do it for 2 months, and they get mixed results, and then it just drops off. The next year is not
Hmm.
very good. So I think consistency through years, and as we said, some off season, you're not spamming the off season, but you're keeping that consistent. So
Right.
consistency goes a long way, and then really following your trends too. What posts well for your audience? Like
Mm,
weird memes work well for
So
some folks, they don't with others. So if it
how
works, like do more of them.
how do you guys kind of make that determination, again, in conjunction with the haunt, especially like we're talking TikTok, every other day there's a new, viral
viral
dance or
trend.
trend, whatever. How do you guys kind of make that decision in terms of what's going to be effective, what's going to be relevant, and what's going to fit with kind of the haunt and what they're interested in? How do you guys make that determination? How do you have those conversations with the haunt owners about, hey, look, this is a really, really big trend. We should probably try and do something for it. Or, let's just keep, our marketing strategy as is and see where that goes.
So I think a lot of that, Reed spends a lot of time on social media with trends and stuff like that. I don't know, Reed, do you want to share a little bit about all thing Halloweens and kind of how?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm also an admin of All Things Halloween that has 1.2 million followers, and this year it's probably gonna get somewhere between 700 and 1 billion views. Uh, and that's how I basically find like the viral content. Like I like some content I've done has done very well there, and I looked at like past trends, and then maybe I find like a funny photo or something like that, and I use like the audio track of the past trend. That's
Okay.
some
And just
Hmm.
seeing what's currently trending,
Yeah.
what's currently like if you're watching, you can kind of see there's certain themes, music, certain songs that was that everyone's using, or
Right.
certain chihuahua, or whatever it is. There's certain themes and the only way to do that is to be on social media and see what's trending, and
Consume
then
all
kind
the
of jump
social
right
media
in.
all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't want to.
I wish I had a better answer for you, but it's actually
No, but
you
that's
have to.
again, that's something that you guys bring to the table with Corpseology is you do that. That is
You do
where
that so
your
I don't have to.
expertise
Yeah.
is and where your knowledge base is to be able to say, yeah, this one's worth jumping on. This one's getting really big, or this one really didn't hit very well. You might have seen it in your quick pass through on Instagram, but that's not really where we want to spend our time and energy. So
Yeah.
that's, again, that's a skill set that you guys bring to the table that, I don't have. I mean, I know the importance and the value of social media. I consume a fair bit of social media, but my desire to then take that and create something, I have almost no interest, except beyond of what I okay for makeup
And
videos.
what I think that's a great point. One clarification, Reed's the one who does a lot of that. I don't do I don't do nearly as much. I do more now than I used to, but
Yeah.
he's the one that spends. So he'll, bring trends and themes to me like, hey,
Mhm.
this is happening. How do you think we can leverage that? And that is actually, we talked about working with larger haunts and working with a few posts for them. That's the exact concept around it was like, I'm
Mhm.
seeing these things that are trending on bigger pages. I want to bring them to some of the larger haunts, and we think they can really trend there as well.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference of using ads on social media compared to posts on social media? Advantages, disadvantages. What do you think works better? What do you see?
I would say I think it depends on how big of a haunt is.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's a smaller haunt and maybe you put like $50, $30 into like if you boost like a post. I mean I've seen like haunts that have got like 1,000 engagements that
Mm-hmm.
that are like real small doing that. So there
Yeah.
can be benefits of that, but it would be only for like probably like sales posts or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really worth boosting every single post.
Sure. Sure.
And would definitely say if you don't have a consistent campaign, the ads aren't going to help. So again, it goes
Yeah.
back to some consistency and having a
Mhm.
campaign and supplementing that with ads is I think where
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
where they start really. But just like, hey, I'm going to go and put 4 or 5 ads this year without a larger campaign. I think you don't see as good of results from that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a question kind of that this has actually come up because I'm on our marketing calls for my day job. And the way that AI is changing advertising and marketing, especially when you take things, off of social media and, Google's front page, their top post is always going to be their AI summary, which has all of its own issues. How are you guys seeing what AI is affecting what you're doing, either negatively or positively?
I think AI is very helpful, but you you have to kind of put your own twist on it, like what AI produces, and
Hmm.
and
Yeah, I
it
think
and it's not and it takes a while to actually be able to produce a good quality post from it anyway.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think AI is kind of like a junior marketing person, can generate some great ideas, but needs some
Really
supervision.
great way to put it. I compiled all the stuff that's out there and I've slapped it all on a piece of paper, and isn't this going to work great? Not exactly. Let's take a look at this and really kind of refine it and turn it into something that's actually going to be effective instead of taking the entire kitchen sink and throwing it at the wall.
I don't know. That strategy got me through fifth grade. I mean, it worked. It has its place.
Right.
I
And
also
how long has it been since you were in fifth grade?
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Exactly.
I also think the more you use AI, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
If you just go
Mm.
in, like if you make and Reed spends a lot more time in AI than I do, but if you spend a little time every day in it, you kind of start learning how to make it work well.
Mm.
Yeah,
Which is
you have
just
to learn how to talk to it
yeah,
so it'll generate what you actually want. It's
yeah.
it's
And
a it's a very, very interesting tool slash oncoming disaster.
hmm We use it a good bit at our attraction, especially helping us with we'll take our characters and we'll take the picture and put it into like Chat GPT
Yeah.
and
Mm,
ask it to create like a cartoon version that we can use to like make patches, stickers, different things like that, or even logos for our shirts. And
Mm.
you are 100% right, Les. It is one of those things where you gotta word it just right, or otherwise, I've had times I put something in, and if I don't word it like if I don't go very intricate with it, like we're just like create this, it'll like give me something, and it's like, oh crap, like I wasn't specific enough. Like, so you had to get down to the nitty gritty. You're like, I
yeah.
need you to create this to look like this, so that way it turns out like this for this purpose. I mean, you're
Yeah.
like, you
And
keep
then
very
you still
specific.
have to tweak it like 5 or 6 times
Oh yeah,
because it's a
Yeah.
language learning model. So if you don't use language in the same way that it has been trained on,
Yeah.
it's not going to read it the way that you're saying it. And that's
Yeah.
something that I've learned where I'm like, hey, create this for me. And, even something as simple as create an ambigram. That's a pretty standard thing, here,
Yeah.
take this word and create an ambigram. And it's like, just gives
Yeah.
me Gothic font. I'm like, that's not an ambigram. I
was
literally,
asking
I
for.
literally told Copilot the other day, I was like, that's not an ambigram.
Not
It's
it.
just like, okay, guys. So yeah, it's all about learning how the model learned English.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sounds
Right.
like you're using Copilot. Rob, what AI tool are you using?
I primarily use Chat GPT and Sora, which Sora is with Chat GPT. So that's my primary use.
Tom or Reed, any particular tools?
I really like Gemini.
Gemini.
Yeah. I wrote
Yeah, I've used
Gemini and
Gemini a little bit.
Google a lot too, yeah. And ChatGPT
Yeah.
I'll use as well, but I I guess I've just become more reliant on Gemini. I've kind of learned how to work with
hmm
Gemini, so I guess I
Yeah.
use that more than the others now.
Yeah, that's another thing is like each one was trained on different things, and each system will also learn you. So the more you use it, the more it learns what you're looking for, and it's a very, very an interesting process.
But I think
It's
that's
almost
interesting. I think
scary in a way because,
It's kind
like,
of terrifying.
I mean, that's a lot coming from a haunter. Okay, 'cause
I'm
that's how much
sensing a
it scares
Skynet
us,
joke
right?
here.
So yeah, so to say that says a lot. But like, sorry, just to share this real quick. I mean, when I try to tweak some of my storylines because we're making new storylines for the season,
Mhm.
and there's times I'm just I'll write my storylines. I'm just like I'm not satisfied. I feel like there's more or something different I need. So I'll put in my storyline into Chat GPT. I'm like, this is my storyline. I need a tweak. Like I'm looking like I'll put it in, then I'll put underneath like the specifics. Like I need a tweak to sound more like this. I'm just, I need some kind of wording that looks like this. And
Mm.
it does a phenomenal job. But then if I go and continue that, even if I'm not talking about like a certain character, like if I just mentioned all that before, I'll put in like I need to, I need to add this to it. And it'll all of a sudden like take previous things that I never mentioned and add it into the story as if it's
Interesting.
continuing
hmm
to my thought process. It's continuing on. So Les, you're right. It really does. It learns
Yeah,
you. I
it
mean,
it
Learns
learns
you.
you and it
it's
tries to
scary. It does.
anticipate.
It freaks
And
me out.
yeah, it's I have
That's
it
saying a lot.
where as I'm writing emails, it'll oh, here, do you want to say this? And it's really, really useful when it comes to like my sign off, because if
Mm.
you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. So I only have to
Yeah.
type, please let me know blank, and it fills in the rest. But there's other times where it's like, I will get back to you about this within the next, and the first word that it tells me is like, I'll get back to you within the next year. I'm like, no.
I
I'm
mean,
in accounting. I'll get
accurate.
back to you within the next week.
I will get back to you within the next year, hopefully sooner.
Right. But it's very, very interesting just how it generates and what it thinks you're trying to do. So I also have a lot of fun where trying to trick it into thinking I'm doing something and
Mm.
then taking it in a completely different direction, because screw you, you're artificial intelligence, you can't think past me yet. Makes me feel a little bit better about myself.
Putting it in its place. So,
Yes.
so when Skynet takes over, you're going to be a target, is what I'm hearing.
Always. I've been a target since day one. Come on, we know this.
The other thing I found is if I'm not getting the results in one of the systems, if I'm in Gemini and it's just not giving what I want, I'll switch over to ChatGPT and try the same thing. Sometimes
Mhm.
like boom, oh, that's that's how I was
That's
interested.
exactly what I
Interesting.
need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not always, but sometimes.
Sure. Absolutely. I find that all just absolutely fascinating. I can tell I'm getting old because the new technology is like scares me. So, and I have not dug into it nearly enough. But listening to the conversation here, I see a lot of potential for using AI in the future. Do you think one day it will ever replace what you're doing?
I would say this. I would say the people who master prompting,
Mm,
it's gonna be really important.
yeah.
Or people who know how to jailbreak the AI and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So my understanding is, I quite often think of AI, we think of robots and being self-directed. And what AI isn't, and they even say the technology today isn't available to be self-directed AI. So
Sure.
a lot of it is you're feeding it, you're kind of leading it through, but the technology to make it self-directed and kind of HAL or whatever it is, that's we're a ways off from. That's another generation away.
At least. My children get to deal
Hopefully.
with that.
Yeah, I think I don't love it. I don't love AI. I don't love a lot of the results that it's doing, a lot of the damage that it's, causing to content creators and artists, because why would I hire an artist to create something for me when I can just stick something into ChatGPT and have it generate? So I don't like those aspects of it. I don't like the fact that, a lot of these language learning models have been trained on stolen intellectual property and stolen books and things like that. I don't love that, but it is a tool, and the best way to make sure that it doesn't become an enemy is to learn how to use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
One kind of analogy, I actually did a lot in the computer aided design industry early on,
Hmm.
and typically architects and engineers who get paid by the hour. So you're just like, here's this tool and it lets you do your job faster. They were like, do I really want to do my job faster? I get paid by the hour. But what they learned with the tool is they could do 10 iterations of project as opposed to two. So they could go to
Interesting.
a
Yeah.
client and
Yeah.
say, here's your two options. Now they go and, here's 5 or 6 options.
Yeah.
And it didn't reduce their work. It just helped. And AI, is it that direct analogy? I'm not sure, but I think AI has the ability, when you talk about the pictures, maybe you can generate more options, but you really want the
Sure.
artist to finish it off.
Yeah.
Or if you're really looking for something specific, the artists who have like won contest with it, like they've
Hmm.
taken 2, 3 days to create that artwork
Right.
by
Right.
continually refining it and working through. So again, it's still a skill, and I think it's scary when just like, oh, it generated image right away, but that image usually isn't what you want on your final product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think never mind. My mind drifted off into another direction. We're into our last 5 minutes though, so I wanted to give an opportunity for anyone, if you had any topics that we hadn't had a chance to talk about yet, are the things that we've missed. This is really our opportunity to start bringing those out. Everybody goes skimming through their notes now, just double check that we didn't miss anything.
So I do have a question. Have you guys had any posts that have gone viral, either locally or regionally? And if so, how did that kind of impact the haunt that that post was for, or kind of your marketing model and the success of everything else that you guys are helping to support?
So it wasn't for a haunt, but it was for the page I manage, all things Halloween. Um, yeah, my first post that I posted that went viral was like I think in uh like December of 2024, and then from there I learned how to analyze things to find viral posts. And then lately, my last 5 posts I've done for them have all of them have gone viral. So
So you've cracked the nut, is what I'm hearing.
yes, it's not really luck if you do it 5 times in a row.
That's again, this is a skill set,
Yeah.
and it requires knowledge, experience, and understanding of the data and the language use.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
that's
think the key there, Leslie, is so that's kind of an all thing Halloween, and what we're doing is pulling all that information into the haunts.
Mm,
And we'll be doing some more experimentation this year with some of that knowledge and learning, because size audience kind of matters as well to go viral.
mm,
So we're
yeah.
trying to experiment with different size and kind of what fits, and also what matches the theme. Some of the things Reed posted on all things Halloween just wouldn't match a haunt, but
Sure.
others would
right.
match a haunt. Or we can say like, "Ooh, this haunt would be really good for that." So, yeah, it's. I think there's some good knowledge there, but I think there's always learning, and continue getting better at it.
Fantastic. Well, this has been I think, phenomenal discussion on ways to use social media and social media to market your haunt. And for a first try on our Lunch and Learn series, I would call this a success. Rob, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of the future, where we kind of see these Lunch and Learns going?
Yeah, so as a chamber of commerce for the industry, the Chamber of Commerce is looking into doing these lunch and learns. We started talking about them months ago. It was actually, I think, some of our board members, David Crossland, who's in Texas. He owns Afterlife Haunted Attraction and Adventure Park. He had talked to me and said, "Hey, like it'd be nice if we could like do something like this." It's hard. I mean, we're a chamber of commerce, but we're national, so it makes it so hard to do things like this because, like you
We've
said,
got
Tom,
people
before,
across
your
time
local
zones.
chamber. Yeah, I mean, we've got different time zones. It's not like we're local for everybody, so it's not like we could have them come face to face, which is what we would prefer, and be more, personal. But it's like we don't have that ability, and so we decided anyway, we're like, we're gonna give it a shot. Let's just do these virtual lunch and learns. You obviously bring your lunch and come learn with us. And so I agree. I think this was a very successful one. Like I said, I'm grateful to Hunting You for hosting this for us. But like I said, the future of them is we're going to continue to do them. We're going to find out. Like I said, we're going to talk about it as a board as far as like the amount that we do in a year. We're like I said,
Yeah.
whether it's going to be once a month or once every other or once a quarter, we're looking at what'll be viable. Because once again, we all know everybody here has a life outside of here. I mean, haunting, we'd love it to be full time, but for the majority of us, it is secondary. So it's not like we have that ability to do that. But we still think it's very vital though that we can do what we can to get this information out to the masses, because one, it helps haunters like myself to get the information we need, but also puts us in contact with organizations or companies like Corpseology, who if there's certain things we can't do, if we've gotten to a point where we're like stalemate and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything else, like this is our opportunity to work with groups like yourself, and say, hey, like we need your help. We've gotten to the point that of I don't want to say no return, but we've gotten as far as we can take ourselves, and now we need your help. So, yeah, I think this is very key. By doing these, not only does it help, myself as a hunter or anybody who's listening, but it also helps, the vendors who work with the chamber to get you out there to the public, so people know, like, hey, we have people available in the industry who can help you, whether you're a new attraction or a veteran attraction, like we can help you out. So, yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for sure, where we can definitely help, like I said, the masses. I mean, as a chamber, obviously we help our members, but we're here to help the whole industry. It's not just our members. So we try to find different ways to be able to balance that act. It's a hard balancing act, but I think things like this will be a great opportunity for the masses in this industry.
Agreed. And as we move forward, you'll be able to find all of these on the Hunting You website, on the Hunting You YouTube page, on the Chamber of Haunters website, and on the Chamber of Haunters Facebook page. We will be trying to get this out just as widely as possible so that as many hunters as possible can benefit from these lunch and learn sessions. Real quick, before we wrap up, Tom Reed, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time out again today. If you could one more time give us a shout out for your social media, for your website, where people can find Corpseology.
Okay, so yeah, I have a Facebook page called Corpseology, and then my website is corpseology.com.
Perfect. And Rob, you want to do the same for the Chamber of Haunters?
Yeah, so once again, you can see us online at chamberofhaunters.com. You can email us at chamberofhaunters@gmail.com to get a hold of us, or on Facebook under Chamber of Haunters. So once again, any of those outlets, you can find us, talk to us, message us. Like I said, I will just really quickly just put a plug out there. We have changed our membership structure as far as how we do things. We're always trying to align more with the way a Chamber of Commerce works. So we're always making changes and updates. And we have changed the structure to that, and you can see that on our membership page. So if you go there, you'll see just some of our structure change in that aspect to the membership. So like I said, please visit our page there to get more information. But if you have any specific questions, like I said, reach out to our general email box at chamberofhaunters@gmail.com, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions. But like I said, we're always trying to do more to help people, help the industry, and help our members.
Perfect. And if you can't get enough of Leslie and I, definitely go check out the Hunting You podcast at huntingyou.com with just the letter U, on Facebook, facebook.com/huntingyou, Instagram at Hunting University, and YouTube at Hunting You, again, just the letter U. Whew, we got to work on getting those standardized, because that's too much to try to remember.
Yeah, I've been trying to tell you guys that for years.
I will put a plug out there. There's a thing called Linktree that has helped us.
Linktree,
with all our
yeah,
handles.
absolutely need to get
Linktree's been
ourselves up on
phenomenal
Linktree
for us, so that might help.
You're right. I'm gonna go set up Linktree as soon as we finish this
There
off.
you go.
So, Rob, Tom, Reed, thank you so much for taking the time out today, and greatly appreciate your efforts. From all of us here at the first ever Lunch and Learn, we are going to sign off. Thank you all for joining us today.
Have a good rest of your day.
Okay, live stream is stopped. We're done.
All right.
We can say whatever we want now.
Yeah.
It occurs to me the recording's still going, though.
Oh yeah.
I also don't
we
know-
say anything we want.
I also don't know if it
Be
went
careful
live.
with that. Yeah, don't